I picked up the Climber from JK Boots, and it's quite similar to their bread and butter, the Superduty boot. Only the Climber, it has an extra panel of roughout leather along the medial side of the foot for greater durability when climbing trees or pole spires. I also got a safety toe version, so I gotta say these things feel like absolute tanks on my feet. This right here is a textbook example of what great Pacific Northwest work boots are all about, so let's dive into the details. Right out of the box, I gotta say, I've never seen a midsole with 8 millimeters of thickness. I think you could shoot these with a bazooka and that midsole, at least the midsole, would still be intact. The signature look of a JK boot is that rough out bottom right here and then the smooth leather upper. So the rough out bottom keeps the boots protected from scratches and abrasion on the job, because basically a scratch on a rough out piece of leather is a lot less noticeable than on smooth leather right here. I opted for the redwood color, which is a nice copper rough out leather with a brown smooth upper. So you can also get gray, black, brown, or even customize the colors of your boots, kind of mix and match, whatever you want. One thing to note is that with the non-steel safety toe, you can kind of see a bit of the safety toe bulging out of the leather. You might not mind that, and at the end of the day, it might be a necessary element depending on your use case. The leather used is an 8-ounce oil tan leather from Seidel in Milwaukee, and this is where pretty much all the best boot brands in the world, at least for work boots, that's Seidel is usually where they source their leather from. There's also Horween and Wicked and Craig, but for work boots, Seidel is the go-to. In any case, this is 8-ounce leather. It is super thick. So most boots you try on, they might be a 4-ounce leather. Some great boots out there, they pump that up to like a 6-ounce, but then you get the Pacific Northwest Beast that come in at 8-ounce. This is exactly what you want if you work a trade that's tough on boots, and you get the additional lineman patch on the inside. You're not going to be wearing through these climbing boots anytime soon. One thing I really liked was that JK shipped these boots with a bottle of Obanoff's leather oil, and this is a different formulation than their heavy duty LP, which is what I've used before. It's a little lighter, it's a little more for conditioning than for full waterproofing. I'm probably not going to use this leather oil on my boots right away because I truly don't need to, but if you're working in damp conditions or a lot of rain, or you're gonna immediately go out for a tough day at work, then using some boot oil to start before the first day is not a bad idea. Honestly though, that's not mandatory. The rough out leather here and the smooth upper, they're fine getting in contact with the water, and you could definitely hold off on conditioning for 6 months or so, unless you're going into like really wet climates. To me, the sole is the most impressive part of this boot. The Climber is made with a 270-degree stitch down build. This is common for most Pacific Northwest work boots. Different brands do it different ways. This general stitch down is pretty standard. The insole is oak tan leather, and the midsole is a fat hunk of oak tan leather. Like I said, is 8 millimeters. It's skived down a bit towards the forefoot, but the heel ends up being a full 2 inches tall. There's a leather stacked heel on this, and the outsole is a Vibram Red X outsole, which is NFPA fire rated, so you can wear this if you're a wildland firefighter. The heel counter here is a thick piece of leather, and there's also a leather shank, which has the benefit of being a little easier on the insole once you start to hit the 5-year mark. So I think, you know, if a boot maker makes work boots with a leather shank in them, that basically means, to me anyway, that they expect these boots to last like 5 years minimum, but even like 10 years and beyond, because that leather shank, unlike a steel shank, the leather shank's gonna kind of mold with the, you know, as the insole breaks in, the leather shank is also gonna break in at the same time. So unlike a steel shank that's just gonna stay rigid, but the leather kind of breaks in, and so it's gonna stay comfortable like 5, 6, 7 years down the road. Overall, the sole is really well built, and I think it's the most impressive aspect of this boot entirely. I'm a 10.5D on the Brannick. The boot was a little bit large at first, but it also, JK shipped some inserts as well. And once I popped those in, the fit was perfect. Honestly, I don't mind the larger size. I'd say it's still in the range of something I'd wear without the inserts, but I think that'd come particularly in handy if you're wearing gaffs or if you've been working 6 or 7 hours and your feet are starting to swell a little bit. That little extra room I think is gonna come in handy. You can get custom sizing if you have uncommon sizing for your feet, like one size is bigger than the other. You can get these custom built as well, and JK can take care of that for you. The break-in period wasn't too tough. I figured I was in for a disaster with the amount of oak tan leather in the insole and the midsole, plus this 8-ounce leather, but it actually wasn't bad at all. It took me a bit to get used to how heavy these were, but other than that, I was able to wear my boots for a full day right away. Now, it wasn't like putting on a pair of sneakers or anything like that, but it also wasn't difficult either. So JK Boots right now have about a 2 to 3 month wait for their fully custom orders, and you can expedite to 1 month for a little extra added cost. And that might sound like a long time, but that's basically the Amazon Prime of Pacific Northwest boots. Now JK makes most of their boots are for like wildland firefighters or people who work really tough trades and really get to break these things in. And you could find tons of reviews of people wearing these in and truly breaking them in and wearing them for the purposes they were designed for. Now, I'm a boot reviewer, so I don't get the opportunity to truly break these in the way they probably ought to be broken in and really wear them and put them like climbing, you know, putting on gaffs and climbing up a pole. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I don't know how to do that. So yeah, I really just wanted to check out a climber boot and see what it was like. So I'm not gonna get to test this fully, but there are tons of reviews out there of people who wear these on some of the hardest job sites in the world, and they definitely hold up over time as well. From what I'm seeing for this JK climber, honestly, this looks like one of the toughest boots in the world.